Well, hello everyone. My name is Dara Rath and I'm the pastor at Faith Lutheran Church in Port Elgin, Ontario, Canada. And each week I bring you a story. Some of them are funny, some of them are inspirational, and some of them give you something to think about. And that's the case here, which is a story told by a storyteller, Wayne Rice. And it's in a book called Flowers in the Wind by Robert Coos. There once was a little girl whose parents died, so she lived with her grandmother in an upstairs bedroom. One night, a fire broke out in their house, and the grandmother was killed while trying to rescue the little girl. Someone called 911, but because the fire was blocking all the doors of the house, the fire department would get there too late to save the girl. Suddenly, a man appeared with a tall ladder and raised it to an upstairs window. He climbed the ladder, broke a window, and disappeared inside. He reappeared in the window carrying the little girl to the paramedics, who took her to the hospital. The man who saved the little girl disappeared into the night. A few months later, the little girl went before a judge who needed to find a home in which to place the girl because she had no relatives. So the judge began interviewing people who wanted to take the girl in. The first person who requested custody of the child was a school teacher. She pointed out how the little girl would get a good education and study a lot. Well, the second person was a farmer. He pointed out that the farm was a wholesome environment where she would learn the value of hard work and the simple life. She would get to be around animals and learn responsibility while caring for them. The third person was a rich woman who said, "I can give the child whatever she wants or needs. I can provide her with the finest clothes and send her to the best schools. If she lives with me, I can give her whatever her heart desires." While many more people were interviewed, each one telling the judge why they would be the best person to take care of that little girl and bring her into their home. Finally, the judge said, "Is there anybody else who has anything to say before I make my decision?" Well, suddenly a man walked from the back of the courtroom to the judge's bench. He walked very slowly with a slight limp. From his old clothes, it was obvious he was not a rich man or well educated. When he got to the front of the room, he stood directly in front of the little girl and held out his arms. The crowd was astonished. His hands and arms were terribly burned and scarred. "This is the man who saved me," cried the little girl. With a leap, she threw her arms around the man's neck and held him tightly, just as she had done the night of the fire. She buried her face in his shoulders and sobbed with joy for a few minutes. Then she looked up and smiled with a grin that lit up the whole courtroom. The wise judge sat back in his big chair, smiled, and said to the crowd, "I think I have just made my decision." Then he adjourned the court. What a beautiful story of love and sacrifice. So I think based on that story, it's a time that we would just count our blessings. We have many of them, so have a great day and blessings on your day. See you next week.